Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas, the official podcast of Somos Mas NM and your source for the latest news and notes on New Mexico United and the New Mexico Runners. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Joining me this evening, apparently the OTC, not the ODB, Earl Nieto. Earl, glad to have you back this week. Hopefully you're doing well. Are we officially on baby watch? How long do we have?
We are officially on baby watch. We have been told any day now. We're hoping for not any day, and we're hoping for August 9th, which is this Friday. But it's not our time anymore. It's now the baby's time, and we'll see what happens when it happens.
Yeah, I mean that's all you can do. I mean, when my youngest was born, we were scheduled to induce for him as well, and he came 2 days early. So, that is just the way things work. I mean, are you guys ready? Are you prepared? Do you have the crib together?
We have everything we need put together. We're about as ready as we're going to be for a newborn baby.
You have diapers?
We do.
You do? Are you comfortable changing a diaper?
Yeah, I'm not worried about changing diapers, but if you want to contribute to my diaper fund, you can find diapers on my diaper stash from Pampers. Just look up my name. And there's a Pampers stash there. I am more than welcome and more than inviting for Pampers being sent to me. Any size, any price, I'm more than open to it for sure.
And Jacob Terrell is with us here as well this evening. Jacob, we're just talking about Earl's readiness for the baby this week, and he's pimping his diaper stash account. And so I feel like with the birth of Earl's first child imminent, I think you and I should share some fatherly wisdom with him. You know, once upon a time we had a Dad Ventures podcast, which we haven't ever gone back to. I can tell you, Earl, from my experience, when it comes to buying diapers and preparing in that nature, don't be afraid to buy stuff from Walmart. You can take any unused diapers back to Walmart and trade them in.
Yeah, Marlena's fully aware of that. She did that with Maya. Obviously, it's my first newborn. I'm already a dad as it is to Maya. I just didn't get the diaper changing saga. But yeah, so Marlena's already prepared to take some diapers back and exchange them for larger sizes and what we need to do there. Whatever happens, and I'm fully ready for it, I think.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. Not at all. I'll tell you one more tip for me. Then we'll have Jacob throw a few in here as well. And when you're asking folks for clothes, grandparents, cousins, family members, friends, whatever, ask for like 6 months down the road. Okay. And then there's certain brands like Cat and Jack, and they can be returned after the fact. Okay. So make sure you can take them back, because Cat and Jack through Target has like a lifetime warranty on it.
I'll tell you right now, the Cat and Jack is the biggest hack out there right now. So we buy all of our kids' Cat and Jack stuff, and they will take it back regardless of condition. They will take it back, no questions asked. They give you store credit. You go buy more Cat and Jack stuff, and essentially, you buy clothes one time, and then it just pays for itself time after time.
Yeah, I bought clothes for my nephew not too long ago, and I went ahead and I bought him 9-month onesie when he was like 3 months. That way he would have something to grow into, and then bought him a jacket, like a 12-month jacket, both from the United shop, by the way, so that he could grow into these things. And that way, the parents have something to look forward to down the road. So Earl, ask for clothing 6 months to a year out, or find people who have kids slightly older than yours and get in with them, get friendly with them.
Can you spell Cat and Jack for me?
It's exactly how it sounds, buddy.
Cat and Jack. Yeah.
And get the Target app and utilize the Target app with it, because it's super easy, man. Super easy. I apologize, because I'm gonna sound like a terrible friend right now, because I cannot remember if you are having a boy or a girl.
What does Seth think I'm having?
It's a girl.
What does the chat think I'm having?
Will you just answer the damn question?
It's a girl. I'm
Okay.
gonna be a girl dad.
That was what I thought.
Yeah.
I have a shit ton of girl clothes. I'll talk to Allie. I'm pretty sure we can set you up. So yeah, but Cat and Jack definitely the way to go, especially when they get to be like my kid's age.
Robert thinks I'm having twins.
I mean, that would be
Surprise.
That'd be a fucking mess. So before we carry any further, I do have to.
What the fuck is happening?
I have no idea. He said he had to do something.
Oh, his only dad's hat. Damn it.
So maybe this is the sign that we need to, relaunch Dad Ventures and get Earl's take as a first time dad to a newborn and get his experiences.
We definitely should, and we definitely need to call it Only Dads if there's not a podcast out there called it already.
I'll do some research.
I'm all for it too.
On a less than on a not like logistical answer, as far as newborns are concerned, Marlena probably already knows this, although it's been a while since she's had a newborn. They do weird shit, and you're gonna panic at times. You're gonna think they're dying. Just relax. Like it's a stressful time because they can't fend for themselves, but it's also like once they get to be like my daughter's age right now, you will be like, oh my gosh, why can't you just stay where I put you and not move? And so enjoy that time. It only happens once with the kid. Obviously, if you have another kid, you get to experience it again, but it's a totally different experience with every different kid, because even at babies, they have different personalities and stuff. So
shameless plug for this hat here.
I was trying to be sincere, and then you just fucking okay, cool, never mind, whatever, fuck you.
No, I got you, and I'm taking everything you say into consideration and to heart. But you're being too sentimental for this shit. Let's be fucking real. You're being a little sentimental for it. Fucking be Jacob that you've been for fucking ever. Be the Jacob 3 weeks ago we said I fucking podcasted from the hospital. Be that fucker. Anyways.
Okay, I have that side, but then I also have a very sincere and genuine side that most people know as well. And that's the side I was trying to show before we start ripping you, because I know you're going to have some bad takes after these last two matches. So I will get to the ripping you side. Don't worry. Enjoy the sentimental side right now, because it's going to go away.
Okay, good. So this hat, shameless plug, can be found on TikTok. If you go to Only Dads, they have different hats. I got the sky blue with the trucker mesh. If you tell them you're a new dad, they will send it to you for free. I spent $10 on this thing. Free shipping. So shameless plug for Only Dads on TikTok. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but if you guys are interested. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Only Dads or my up and coming newborn baby or anything of that nature. We're here to talk about how Seth's weekend was.
Wow, what a segue, Earl. Like I'm impressed. That was a very quick pivot away from that. Quickly though, I do want to shatter Jacob's dreams. Forming a podcast called Only Dads. There is already one in existence. So
when was the last episode?
We'd have to continue to look that up, but there is already an Only Dads, Jacob. So yeah, I know. So before we move on quickly, I do want to. So Jacob, between you and me, I want to place a friendly wager. Okay, I think we should make a wager to see how Earl reacts the first time he gets shit on.
Never been shit on, never been peed on.
No,
never.
Okay,
and that's
impressive.
3 and a quarter kids.
Yeah. Okay. I've been peed on, never been shit on. So
my wife, on the other hand, different story.
Hi, Christina. Thanks for filling in for me last week. I appreciate you. You officially become the substitute. We might need you again next week, just so you know.
She might hop on later too.
Oh, good.
She's going to extensively be third/fourth chair for the foreseeable future. Hopefully, anyways. Josh,
still went for my backpack too.
I think Seth might have stolen it. I don't know.
Asshole.
You
Josh,
weren't here.
mine wasn't in the wash. I honestly just forgot to put it on, so I had to go put it on for you, just for you, buddy.
My kits are all hanging in the closet. I went for a run after I got home and did not change out. So,
You smell gross.
Probably a little bit. It was close to 100 degrees this afternoon. So but as far as my weekend, Earl, I do appreciate you asking. Pretty quiet. Did some schoolwork. Got some things going. Watched some soccer. Got to watch some SummerSlam. Which and again, I said it before, I'm disappointed. I did not get invited onto your new podcast, Earl. That way, Jacob doesn't have to hear us ramble on about how the one true chief is back.
Yeah, so our podcast was a little bit different. It wasn't like we have here. I'm still trying to figure some things out. We pre-recorded it and then uploaded it on a bunch of places: Instagram, Facebook, Podbean, Amazon Music, Spotify. So a bunch of different places that we threw it out there. We're still working some of the kinks out, obviously, with it being our first show that we've been hyping since May. I mean, the only time I've seen such a hype show is when the fucking Undertaker returned for Judgment Day a long time ago.
Well, I tell you what, Earl, in order to simplify your process, get a host like Spotify or like Pinecast, like we use for this show. Yeah. Pinecast does cost us $10 a month. But it automatically, so we have the ability to go in and say, publish the podcast to all these platforms. And then once I upload an episode, it'll automatically do it. Spotify or Anchor, which is now Spotify, does the same thing, except Spotify is free. The only thing with Anchor, and the reason that we did not go that route with them as a host, is that if you read through the terms and conditions of Anchor/Spotify, is they, by uploading your stuff there, by hosting it there, they technically own the rights to your show, and they can take it and make clips and monetize it and do whatever, and you don't get a dime. So that's why when we do Pinecast, it automatically uploads to everywhere. We pay a fee to Pinecast. We own the rights to all the audio. There's actually even a tip jar through Pinecast that people can go through and support the podcast as well, but we don't push that. So there are options out there.
So on that note, if you guys are looking to tip, once again, I do have a diaper stash.
That was one of your better segments there, buddy. I like that.
There you go. Christina, no worries. We will absolutely get you back on the show whenever you are available. We do appreciate you hopping on and joining us. And even tonight, you're certainly welcome to hop on as well. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting weekend, interesting few days for those of us, in and around the United Nation. Some news came out of the club that I broke over on the Discord, as well as within our group chat. People have been asking about Harry Swartz and Abu Danladi. Harry Swartz should be returning this week. According to Coach Quill, he did give us that information Saturday night after the match against Lose City. We did specifically ask him about that. Abu Danladi found out his issue is his hamstrings. And he just continues to re-aggravate the injury. And so that's why we have not seen Abu Danladi, which is unfortunate because at this point we really kind of need some legs up top. The other bit of news that I was able to glean Saturday evening is that the club is expecting a decision on the most recent appeal on the stadium, and that information that decision should be coming on the 19th. And I did get that from the club on Saturday, so we don't have to wait too much longer to hear a decision on that. And I think that may end up being the final appeal, and then everything will be going forward. I mean, Jacob, what's your initial reaction to hearing these three little tidbits we were able to pick up over the weekend, and what's your thoughts on these going forward as we head to the latter half of the season?
Ah, man. I'll separate it into the player news and then the stadium news. The player news, I mean, whatever was going on with Dunlawdy, we knew it was something lingering. So the fact that it's a hamstring doesn't really change my thoughts too much. It sucks that he's always injured, but we'll see if he can come back. I fully expect to see a signing or two coming up in the next month or so, I would imagine, to give us some help up top. Harry, we knew that he kind of got dinged up. I didn't know exactly what it was. I had seen him around. He went to LA. He was on the plane. And so knew he was around, knew he was doing just fine. Those head injuries, you can never be too careful. So doesn't surprise me there. And we haven't, I mean, he's great to have around, but it's also, he hasn't been like
Key.
integral piece. Yeah, he's just kind of been a very, very solid option for us. So it'd be great to have him back. But his health, especially with those head injuries, becomes priority. And then the stadium news. I think it's a matter of when, not if. And this is just another step. So we'll see Friday if something shocking happens there, then we can go into full blown what the fuck mode and worry about that. But until then, I'm not going to worry about it too much. We're in a pretty good situation with that still, I think.
Yeah, and I want to bring this up to both of you guys as well. So after the match on Saturday, obviously there has been some discussion. We had it last week with Christina talking about what does the club need? What should we be shopping for in the market? And I very directly asked Coach and Pete, hey, what's the situation? Are we in the market for anything? And they both reiterated the fact that they're always in the market. They're always looking. The problem is that when you get to this point in the season, everybody's in the market. Mm-hmm. So everybody's looking for somebody. I mean, Earl, we talked, I don't know if you saw how much of the show you caught last week, but we were talking about, where we felt the needs were, where do you think United needs to focus if they are to pick up some bodies, especially number one, given the health of Dunlawdy, and two, what seems to be some tired legs.
Yeah, and I mentioned it, I think Monday. I texted the group and said, hey, this is where I feel. Essentially, I feel like we need strikers. I mean, Hurst and Bruce are carrying their weight in every sense of the fashion, in any sense of the words you can take it. But you can't depend on them every game, day in, day out, especially when we go two up top. And then we saw it with Lights where we pulled out Hursty for a midfielder because we don't have any other strikers. And then we saw it with Lou City where I want to say it was Hursty that came out, but then later on in the match, we saw Ryden up top. I mean, we are lacking forward capability bodies. And I sent out a couple names. Harry shut me down real quick on some of the names.
As he should have.
Mm-hmm. I will say I mentioned that name in the press box as well, and that name got laughed out of the press box.
Which I get it. He's a very pricey player for the role that we'd probably be asking of him to be a sub.
What? No, Vela. If
hear me out,
was to sign Vela, that is not a sub.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Because that's essentially what we're looking for right now is a sub. So essentially that'd be a pricey signing for any role, even if you put him anywheres. And with United having all their focus on a stadium, I don't see them going after a big, expensive target. I mean, we saw that with Nico Brett where it just didn't work out. But I mean, there's a million names that are free from MLS down to USL 1 that
I can't tell if he's just like super committed to this bit or if he's dead serious.
No, so I moved on from the Carlos Vela part. I really have.
Shit.
But there are
Christina,
a
no
lot-
worries. No worries. Point in case.
Yeah, we'll get you hooked up with Earl. He can explain all the ins and outs of having bad takes. I mean, we all can for the
That's
most
what I'm
part.
here
Yeah, that's fair.
That's all I'm here for. Like the past, what was it, 2 weeks I haven't been here?
So basically,
Ah.
Christina, you're doing a great job replacing Earl.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like that's where we're at. But no, I mean there are some names out there that make sense that aren't super expensive that would work out in any role. I mean,
Where's Jerry?
I'm trying to give Jerry fucking information. Like I'm trying to feed him, and it's not working.
Oh,
It
man,
really
that was
isn't.
great. That was great.
I mean, you look at, and I get it. It's transfer market. Take it how you want it. But I mean, Sean O'Coley, Jason Johnson, MLS. You have CJ Sapong, Kevin Molino. I mean, you have names out there that are up there in age that would be willing to take that backup role.
So
Because
can
they
we
played that backup role already.
can I want to back up just a hair because I'm not the Carlos Vela thing was a joke. Those names, Sapong is a pie in the sky dream as well. But you mentioned something earlier that I think is probably the most important thing that you said in that is with this stadium and the amount of money that ownership specifically is going to have to pay to get this thing built. Will they open up the pockets for some midseason additions like we've seen in the past? And honestly, until you mentioned it, I had not thought of it. So that is something that is a huge, huge hurdle that we're going to have to figure out. And maybe that's why we haven't seen a move yet.
Well, let me counter it with this. With this, so you look at our roster last year. Obviously, the club brings back Santi Moares. The club brings back Kavan. The club brings back Chris Wehan. All of them are gone. Wehan's let go at the beginning of this season. Cut ties with, arguably. I mean, and I think this is a fair point, and this is something I heard mentioned on Saturday. Bees was by far the highest contract on the roster. Do you see anyone else being at his level or above? Because if
No.
you're offloading,
Maybe Kalen, but typically offense is more worthy or more expensive than defense. And so even Kalen being Kalen, no, you're probably right. Bees going into this year after Santi was released, Bees probably by far the most expensive.
yeah. So you look at this, you look at who is gone, you look at what not just like cap room, but the difference in roster value from the beginning of the year to now, and even the end of last year to now. I don't see any of these guys that we brought in, and this is no slight on them, making what Santi or Kavan or Bees was making.
Maybe
So,
Hurst.
so there's wiggle room, maybe, but
I can't
Hurst came
remember,
in on a down year.
but I can't remember exactly what the Hurst situation is. I don't know if he's still on that Phoenix contract or if we re-signed him. Do you remember? I feel like we re-signed him, and if that's the case, then probably right. But if he's still on the Phoenix contract, then I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there because Phoenix pays out the wazoo. And when Phoenix signed him, he was coming off an incredible year in League One. So
real quick, there's a question in the chat from Josh. I'm very curious as to what happened with Bees and the club. It seemed like he wasn't happy and has to cut ties with them. Really, I mean, he picked up a golfing contract, a golfing gig where he's a coach at golf. He's coaching golfing right now. He's like one of the pros or something like that for one of the local
He's pretty good.
courses. He's really good at golf, like that's for sure. I've seen him at a couple of matches, the ones I have been to, but I don't think there's any bad blood there. I think it was, hey, look, you're too injury prone. We can't afford, especially the contract that you have, we can't afford to keep you on the bench on the injured reserve list.
well, what we found out was in his contract, he had a clause that said if he re-injured that knee, the club could terminate the contract with no penalty. He re-injured the knee, the club terminated the contract. It's the shitty side of the business aspect of this. It made business sense and roster building sense to do. It sucks when he's, been one of the guys that has led this team both on and off the pitch since year one, basically. But it had to, it made too much business sense to do.
Yeah.
I think in the heat of the moment, there were some ill feelings, at least.
There were some things with his wife and the
with
club
Holly.
too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holly has voiced issues throughout our time here, throughout their time here.
Mhm.
And so she's been pretty vocal. But I think at the end of the day, he's not on bad terms with it. He's not on good terms with it. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back to the black and gold at some point. But until he gets healthy, and who knows, at this point, with the way things are going for him right now, maybe he doesn't come back to professional soccer. But that's kind of the shorter version of what happened there.
Tommy, welcome in. Glad to have you in the chat. And to Christina's point over in the chat, Christina points out that Bees was live tweeting during the match on Saturday. He's giving some thoughts on that. He also has given 2 interviews to 1017 The Team in the past week and a half. So go check those out if you haven't. So he's got 2 different interviews up over on the Team podcast page. You can hear those to get some of his insights and things as well. So
was that on United or
no 1017?
No, but like what was the topics discussed?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of touched on a lot of different things.
A lot of things. Okay. That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, kind of touched on a lot of different things. Definitely worth going and checking out. But yeah, like you said, I don't think he's done with the black and yellow. I think it's, part of it, getting away, getting healthy again, reevaluating like where he's at. And that's something that a couple of guys are going to have to do at the end of the season, I think. And so, yeah, I don't think Bees is done. I don't think Bees' importance to the club is ever going to be overshadowed or anything like that. So I would expect to see him around. But he's never been a terribly vocal person on social media of any kind. I know he's done more videos and things over like Instagram and whatnot, but
real quick, I want to shout out Tommy. So Tommy actually works for State Parks down in Roswell, and is a good friend of mine, and is a recent convert to United and soccer as a whole. So he's been talking to me about United. We actually got an email for state employees to go on the 14th if we wanted to, and he hit me up about that. So he's new, and I'm excited that he's excited that New Mexico United exists and is having fun. So
very cool.
Just wanted to give that shout out.
Yeah, very cool. Welcome, and Tommy, glad to have you as part of the United Nation. Glad to have you join us here on the podcast. Yeah, as you've noticed, throw questions and comments up in the chat throughout. As long as you're here, we're happy to answer them and do all of that. And we try to make this show accessible to everybody and talk about things in a way that everyone, no matter their skill, their knowledge of soccer, can understand. Right, Earl?
You're an ass. Anyways, back to the conversation that we're having. But yeah, so ultimately, I think that's what we need is a striker or attacking minded midfielder or forward. I mean, you can't depend on Bees and Hurst to carry the weight of a 34.
Bruce and Hurst.
Is that not what I said?
You said Bees.
No, you said Bees.
Oh. Anyways, Bruce and Hurst, you can't expect them to carry the weight of a 34 match season, not counting Open Cup and playoffs, and be successful. You have to bring someone in that has that mindset, and obviously your captain, who's a center back, is not your answer as well. I mean, the project worked very well with Bruce, but I'm not sure you can convert a center back to a striker
Well,
mid-season.
Well, so that's
Let's
not
be
a
real.
conversion.
Yeah, he's not actually converting. Hurst was in the match at that time still. He was just a second forward because we were desperate. And we've seen that a few times with Ryden coming up and trying to get a head on a ball and stuff. And if I remember correctly, one time it actually worked and he did score.
Kalen's got height. He's good with his head. Like I said, we've done it in the past. And Kalen played forward in high school and college. So that's not,
it's not crazy.
It's not a crazy thing, but
he's not the answer by any means. He's a break in case of emergency, like Saturday.
Yeah.
But no, I think we definitely need some depth. We're 32 minutes in. We have not talked about either of the matches that we have played.
Well, so all right, so let's dive into it then. And I think we kind of lump all of these into like one big conversation, both of these into one big conversation, because I think we're kind of facing the same issue with both nights. Okay, you come off the win down in El Paso. We didn't look great in El Paso. Let's be honest. We didn't look great against Legion. You come out against Lights. You come out slow again. Okay. Then you have another 2 days to prepare for Lou City, one of the easily the best club in the East, arguably the best club in the entire USL, and from my opinion, we came out better on Saturday than we did in either of the previous two. And when you look at these issues combined all into one, you talk about the lack of legs, the lack of, is it just simply the congestion? Are we tired? Like, what's been the issue causing us to not switch on in these past few matches? And then what changed against Lou City?
I think it is exhaustion. I mean, what was that? 3 matches in 8 days?
Mm-hmm. And then next week we have 3 and 7.
Yeah, so I mean,
but
I said it a couple weeks ago. It's congested part of the season.
But we just came off of a 15-day break after the LAFC match. Looked just as slow and not fired up against Birmingham. Had a week off. Same thing against El Paso. So it isn't just this 3-match stretch. And like Seth said, arguably Saturday, which is when we should be the most exhausted after that stretch, is the best we've looked probably since the LAFC match. As far as the first half is concerned, I would believe.
I think energy-wise, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think what happened with Birmingham, history has it where Birmingham is not the best team ever. So we might have overlooked them. With a lot of faces that have faced them, that have played them, they probably expected this is the typical Birmingham that you're going to play. And so they come out and they say, no, not happening.
That's a team that we hadn't scored against, period, going into that match. And it's coming off of 15 days rest, where even if you overlook them, theoretically, you should still have some kind of energy there. And if you're going to say we overlooked them, did we overlook El Paso and LAFC as well? Because I understand. I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think you're wrong. I do think it's exhaustion or
I don't think we overlooked
tired
them,
legs,
though.
But I think it's more season long tired legs, not schedule congestion tired legs.
Which kind of goes hand in hand, though. I mean, Josh, you're 100% right. Our finishing needs to be 100% better. During the Lights match, we saw Sergio miss 2.
Oh my gosh!
In the box that should have been in. He was definitely beating himself up on social media after the match. He was definitely taking it to himself during the match, where Brucey had to pull him aside and talk to him a little bit and get him back into the game. But ultimately, I think it comes down to congestion of the season, which in part plays on tired legs of the season, because right now you're looking at a critical part of the season. Match, what was it, 18, 19?
Mm-hmm. I was 18. Or no, that was 19, yeah.
You're looking at match 19, and ultimately you have Sergio who's been injured, so he's still trying. There's no way he's 100%. There's no way he's 100%. He's out there because he wants to play and stay. Hi, Christina. He's out there because he wants to play and try to get fit and healthy. But in doing so, he's also a detriment to the team where he is not 100% confident. He is trying to make things work. He's trying to do things that he typically doesn't do. He's usually a forward passing player, doesn't get in the box except for every once in a blue moon. And I hate to say it this way, never puts him on frame. So he's not confident in what he's doing right now, especially coming off of a long injury that he should be coming on as a sub or super sub to bring energy and pass the ball forward like he's done for the past 4 years that we've had him.
I can agree with that to an extent. He's certainly not what we saw last year, or even, and certainly not what we saw 2 years ago, where he was that deep lying playmaker and was able to drop and drive the ball forward. And Christina, when you watch someone like Sergio, who, as Earl mentioned, has been dynamic in the past, seeing him be unable to either create chances or create shots for himself or someone else, how do you think that has an effect on just him, or is it the chemistry of the team around him when he's unable to create those opportunities?
I definitely think it's affecting the chemistry of the team as a whole. And, I've said in previous episodes that I'm happy with anybody in the lineup that Quill puts out. But I got to admit, as of late, when I see Sergio come on, I'm like, oh, because the confidence just doesn't feel there. He's quick to just get the ball and pass it immediately back rather than driving it forward like he has in the past. And his giveaways are just, and missing an open net when the ball is handed to him on a platter. It's just mistake after mistake with him. When the other guys are grinding.
To be fair, though, we also saw a very key player in our midfield, Micheletto, give up one during the Lights match where it was like, what the shit were you thinking?
Yeah. And El Paso, too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As well. Bad turnover right in front of the goal, and then they scored. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's a question that's been brought up to Quill as well. And we've all seen United play out of the back. This is Quill ball. This is what he wants to do. Now, there were some questions Saturday night about, is United, taking too long? Is the decision-making, causing issues at the back? Because we've seen the increased pressure from Las Vegas and particularly from Lou City, and we saw it cause issues. I brought up one particular moment in the second half where on Saturday night, Alex nearly gives up the ball right in front of the goal, and then he passes out to the left back, tries to get to Gloucester, and he passes it straight to a Lou City player. And I mean, obviously Quill has faith in his system. Are there times where you think that they're just inviting too much pressure and not making those decisions fast enough?
Yes. I mean, easy answer is yes. I mean, we've seen it all season where, hi Maggie, by the way. We've seen it all season where we invite some of the fastest players in the league. Ronaldo Damas, we saw that. We saw it with Preston Taborataka, where you are inviting the fast players in the league.
Preston doesn't scare me.
I mean, he doesn't scare me because his shots are just atrocious. His speed scares me. Mm-hmm. That's what gets me. And with Alex, obviously not 100% confident either. I mean, he's given up at least one goal in the past 4 matches now. It scares me when you have a fast player coming at a not confident keeper. And with you inviting that pressure and hoping that your decision making is going to be squared away, it makes it hard. And then you have to throw into the account that a lot of players are coming back from injury. Maggie, I know you want to fight me. I get it. A lot of the players coming back from injuries, so you're throwing in a different dynamic where these players have played before. This is how they did it before, and let's try it again. But essentially what we're doing is we're fixing what's not broken.
I mean, Christina, to some of what Earl is saying here, do you think that Alex is lacking confidence at this point? And if so, like, is it in himself? Is it in his decisions? Like, is it in the defense in front of him? Because the other night we saw for the first time this season the pairing of Herbert and Ryden to kind of give Maples a little bit of rest after the birth of his child. When we've seen
So many babies.
Maples and Herbert all season long. Now, obviously, any sort of change like that is going to affect the dynamic. I mean, is Earl right? Is this a confidence issue with Alex?
I don't know that I agree that it's a confidence issue, but the cohesion back there is just seems to be lacking, especially because I feel like every time Alex is getting scored on these days, it's on the rebound. And there's nobody there to back him up against that rebound. We saw it with LAFC. We saw it with Las Vegas, Birmingham,
Lou City.
Lou City. Like I wonder if almost every goal since LAFC has been on the rebound.
It might. I don't know. Maybe we'd have to go back and check the tape.
No,
that,
neither of Vegas's were on rebounds. Both of Vegas's were. One of them was just a beautifully timed run from Noel that put him one-on-one with the keeper, which is a frustration in a different sense because I watched that one multiple times today, and I don't think there's anything that anybody can do on that. It was just the perfect ball and the perfect time run. The other one, kind of frustrating, but it was a good pass, smart with the dummy, and everybody bid on the dummy fake, and like he let the ball roll through. Maybe Abdi is in the wrong spot for like the first time all season on that one, but for the most part, both of Vegas's were just beautiful goals. Birmingham and El Paso's. El Paso's wasn't
that was a Micheletto giveaway.
Yeah, that was the giveaway, and then he just it was a well placed shot from outside the 18. And so it just I'm not too concerned about the back line or Tembakis for that matter. Definitely don't think Tembakis is lacking in confidence. Because even the first save that he makes on the Lou City shot, I mean, that's a hell of a save.
Yeah.
And then he has one where somebody gets a touch to it, and then it takes a deflection off a corner against Lou City, and he gets down to his left and gets a hand on it and makes a hell of a play on it. So he can make the great saves. Lately, what we've been getting beat by are either very, very, very well worked goals or rebounds, or costly turnovers that put everybody in a compromised position and something that we can't make up. And so it's not a confidence issue by any means. I think it's more of kind of a mid-season, things aren't going just right. I think we'll eventually get our way out of it.
And I feel like it's deja vu with 2019. You know, we had this great Open Cup run. We were doing pretty great, I think, in the standings, and then went to the quarterfinals, lost, and then things just sort of started going downhill in 2019. I don't know if it maybe the fatigue factor, the cohesion just not there.
Don't say fatigue around Jacob. He gets offended.
No, that's not what happened. I think that's a lot of what it is. I also think it's some complacency. I think we talked about it last week about, everybody kind of knows their role and knows that because of injuries here or there, they're going to get minutes. And that's why I continue to want to see, and I did see people calling for that on Facebook and stuff and Twitter, wanting to see some new blood injected into the team. We've talked about it last week. We already talked about it this week. And so I think that might, one signing might spark some more competition and training and shake things up enough to get people out of this little funk and playing at their best again.
There was one comment I saw over on social media now that you brought it up, Jacob, and I do want to kind of get you guys' opinions on this. And Christina, we'll start with you. There was an opinion I saw that got some fair amount of attention over on the Mexico United Nation, and it was basically saying that they did not like Hurst and Bruce playing together because they feel like Bruce is taking away and interfering with chances and basically, you know, preventing Hurst from getting opportunities. You know, that's basically the gist of it. I mean, do you feel like Bruce is taking away from there, or do you think that they are able to play off of each other more than what said poster is going at?
I don't know that I think they're taking away from each other or Bruce is taking away from Hursty. I feel like we keep getting shut down in the midfield and the ball's just not really quite getting up to them.
Mhm.
I think Hursty had a really good match where, you know, he was flying up the wing and making great moves and getting it into Bruce. You know, they were connecting in that match. I can't remember which match it was.
He played a bit on the wing on Saturday.
Yeah, and then on Saturday it just wasn't as effective because we lost the ball in the midfield and it just never quite got up to him. Or when it did, Hurst's first touch consistently atrocious.
Yeah.
So there was no interplay between him and Bruce because first touch gave it away. And Bruce also on Saturday was trying to do these cheeky little, you know, back heels and giving it away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I wonder where, you know, the fatigue setting in too.
Yeah.
few
Definitely not
times
quite
we
as
get it.
sharp on some
Yeah.
of those. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree with that. And yeah, obviously we saw some instances, particularly against Vegas on Wednesday night, where you talk about that one. There was that one opportunity where, you know, you had Hurst running at goal. You've got Bruce on the left. You've got whoever it was off right, and Hurst plays it off to the left. Bruce plays it back to him, and neither of them gets a shot off. And it's just, you know,
Like, yeah.
it's like, what are we doing?
And that's a huge thing too. We only had 8 shots
Mhm.
in 90 minutes. Like, you know, when we beat Real, Zico's goals were from outside the box.
Mhm.
And rarely do they shoot from outside the box. It's constantly trying to work it, and then they give it away.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that we need to take more advantage of as well. In particular, we've talked about it in the past because we don't have the size that other teams do for the most part. Now, obviously, having guys like Hurst and Kalen who can be bigger bodies up there helps, but we've had to play more from the outside in the past to kind of get around that. We saw that especially against San Antonio over the past several years. So maybe that's something we need to work on as well. I mean, and Earl, what are your thoughts on this? Like, what's, you know, and you know, are we playing uninspired? Are we out of ideas? Certainly at the end of the night on Saturday, we were out of ideas, at least so it seemed, because we just couldn't get anything there.
I don't think we're out of ideas. I think we're still trying to cook up different ideas. I mean, obviously, Hursty playing on the wing, that's not his spot. He's a midfielding striker. Like, that's for sure. We've seen him play midfield the past couple weeks. I think we're trying to come up with different ideas and seeing what works, what doesn't, to throw off opponents in the future. Because now they're looking at, oh, well, Hursty's playing on the wing. Let's throw our big guys on that side that he plays. Or Hursty's playing in the midfield. Let's put 5 in the midfield, and as soon as he touches the ball, shut him down. Maggie has better ideas than I do, obviously. So I'm all for it. But, I mean, I don't think we're running out of ideas. I think we're trying to cook things up and hope that they work. But to answer your question, I don't think Hursty and Bruce playing together is a bad idea. I really don't. I think they complement each other. And we saw it during the Vegas match where Hursty passed it back to Bruce, where he scored the goal.
Thank you for bringing that up. We'll continue on that. I just want to give credit to that goal. I was pretty adamant in the chat that it was a goal, probably my favorite goal of the season. Just beautiful end to end. some one-touch passes in there. Astorga with like the best through ball I've seen in the USL in quite some time to Hurst, and then Hurst with the perfect square ball to Bruce, and the easiest goal Bruce is going to score. But that goal was created almost from Tambakas and playing out of the back. And so,
but a lot of it too
just want to give that
was
shout out.
not. A lot of it too was not selfish play. That's what we need to get back to, is not selfish play. I mean, we saw it with Sergio during El Paso, I believe it was, where he was square with the keeper. You had Brucey right next door. Pass the ball to Brucey, let Brucey score. A lot of it is selfish play that we're seeing in order to get your stats up. That's not going to work with Quill Ball. With Quill Ball, it's find the open guy and let them freaking score. We can do that when you have Sergio here, Brucey right here. You have two guys facing the keeper. There's no way he can dive one way to get up and dive the other. I mean, Jamali Waite probably could do it because Jamali Waite is Jamali Waite and he's pretty freaking good. But at the end of the day, that's what we need to get back to in order to get back on track, is playing Quill Ball where we are selfishly. Selflessly. I thought that's what I said the first time, but then I wasn't sure, so I had to ask again. Where we're selflessly passing the ball to the open guy and getting ourselves open in the hopes of getting that ball back to try to score and confuse the keeper. That's my soapbox. I'll stay on for a while, I guess.
Well, Earl, while you're talking about possibly getting back on track, I mean, you look at the results for the last 4 matches. 4 points from 4 matches, 1 point in the last 3 home matches. Is the lab, and Jacob, we'll start with you, is the lab no longer the fortress that Coach Quill wants it to be? And is it time to start panicking?
No, it's not time at all.
You guys want to brought it up, so I don't want to hear it.
I said, what's the panic level at? 2 things. Well, 3 things. First, in the chat, Linda, thank you. She is very adorable, and she knows it, and so it's a problem. Josh, Akale can be a bit selfish. I love when he turns and attacks, and I think looking specifically at like the Lou City match, I think, and before that, because Akale has come on as a sub the last few matches when we've kind of needed a goal. And I do think he puts a little too much pressure on himself when we're down to try to do something. But I think when he starts a match, or if it's even, or if we're ahead, he makes the right decisions most of the time and is absolutely deadly. Harry, welcome. Love you, buddy. And then back to the question at hand. No, the thing that happened, Birmingham, chalk it up to whatever you want to chalk it up to. Wasn't our best match. Probably still should have won. Is what it is. And then Vegas and Lou City. Vegas is a team, like we mentioned going into the match, hadn't lost since May. They've got a tremendous run of form. Valentin Noel, who scored and assisted on their 2 goals, is having a tremendous season. They just look really good. I think it's still probably a match that we were right there. We should have won. They get the second goal instead of us, which is kind of strange. Or not kind of strange. Sorry. The Atlanta stuff is kind of strange. I got distracted by the chat. It was unlucky to get that second goal for them instead of for us. We had a chance right before that. Bruce gets a cross from, I'm going to forget now. Don't remember who it was from, but he gets ahead to it and puts it just outside of the post. I mean, it was close. And then literally a second later, they come back. And then Sergio, we mentioned earlier, has 2 point-blank chances to get a point from that and misses both of them. So that's a match that I think is a coin toss that we were kind of unlucky not to get a point from. And then Lou City's just the better team. And it's going to take a perfect match to beat them right now, or for them to have an off night. I personally don't think they had an off night. I think we played really well. We just offensively couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. And we talked about their offense. Their offense has been absolutely deadly. We held them to 1 off of a rebound. And so, now granted, they had some other chances that maybe Other nights they don't miss. Wilson Harris has a wide open header from like 8 yards out that he puts wide. Like I said, Tambakis gets a save on the corner kick that comes off of a deflection. Then another header that went just wide, or just high. I mean, so there were chances for them, but at the end of the day, we held them to 1. We actually had the same amount of shots and same amount of shots on target, believe it or not, in that match as Lou City did. Theirs were just a little more quality. And so to me, it's a combination of a tough part of the schedule, both in congestion and opponents, and then us just kind of not looking at 100%. But I think as the season goes along, we'll be fine. Even if there's no additions made like we want, I still think we'll be fine. And eventually that intensity will come back. We get another Wednesday, Saturday at home, I believe, coming up after Indy. And so those are both matches that I'm looking at. Like if we're struggling at that point, then maybe my panic level goes to 1 instead of a 0, which is basically what it's at right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean it speaks volumes. I mean, you're playing the best team. I mean, taking Seth's words, arguably the best team in the league, which I would contest that a little bit, but
yeah, I don't think there's an arguably there. I think
Battery.
I think Blue City's better.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that Battery is better. I mean, Battery just beat Indy 5-0. So
it's the USL. Everyone's going to have an off night. But back to what I was trying to say.
Touché.
We're playing the best team in the league, without a doubt. I mean, apples to apples, it's going to be Lou City. And to be able to hold them to 1 goal in the first half and then hold them shut out in the second half, I mean, that speaks volumes to who we are and what kind of team we are. My panic level is probably with Jacobs at 0. I think it's just a tough area to be in right now and a tough world to live in. But at the end of the day, we're going to get back on track. I mean, we have a week now to get caught up and get back in shape and get back into training and figure out what the hell we're actually doing and get back to the quill ball that got us to first place. And even at the end of the day, even with that loss, results played out in our favor where we're still sitting in first place. So, I mean, there's not much you can complain about when you lose. But when you lose to the best team by 1 goal and still be able to sit in first place at the end of the week.
And I think that Lou City's coach, who said he was most proud of this last match so far of all the games that they've played this season. It speaks to they've got a lot of respect for us. I think that we held our own. I'd like to see more shots from outside the box. I'd like to see less turnovers. But also Quill threw everything but the kitchen sink out there. We didn't have a whole lot of other people. I mean, having a sub in Kalen up front, I think also speaks volumes to where we're at. Just really limited in the creativity and, who we can put in where. And Lou City is a team that's been in their conference final, every single year for however many years.
Yeah, I believe it's 8, and it's every year of their existence.
Oh,
they have been in the conference arms. They are the epitome of consistency and just top-notch organization in as far as the USL Championship is concerned. And I mean, they get a beautiful. They are who we should aspire to be like. But I think there's a reason why you've only seen one team do that. I mean, we've talked about Phoenix since we came into the league and how good they've been year in and year out until last year, and then they start falling off. And so for Lou City not to have any years like that, really, I think they finished 6th in the East either last year or the year before. No, the year before last. And they still made it to the conference finals because they know how to play that playoff style ball. And so it's a year where clearly the better teams are in the East. We've talked about this in the group chat with Harry. I mean, the East is just dominating the West in head-to-head. I mean, you see it again, like Josh says here, River Hounds did us a huge favor. They beat Sacramento on Saturday night to help maintain that lead, and that's like a bottom tier Eastern Conference team that beat the second place in the West, and so just the East is handing it to us, as much as I hate to say it. And so when you get the top team out East coming here, we talked about it before. I was optimistic, obviously. I always am with my predictions, but I can't be mad with how we played and the result, given the fact of who we played and the form that they're in and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It was a tough match. We again, I felt like we played better Saturday night than we did in the previous 3 matches. And that's saying something, you know, when you're at the tail end of 3-8. And, you know, I think we did well, and Talon talked about it. You know, they played well. They felt like they did what they had to do to shut down the opportunities that Lou City had. And for them to get a goal off of a lucky rebound, you know, right place, right time, poor luck for us in that moment. So, yeah, you can't be mad about the performance. Is there anyone that stands out between these 2 matches as it just a standout performance?
I'll go. He stands out every match to me. He doesn't do anything spectacular. He's just all over the place. Somebody who I have shouted his name multiple times, the one and only Nanan Hosu, who honestly, through this stretch of Birmingham, El Paso, Vegas, and Lou City, seems to be the only one playing with energy most nights. And it just shows when he's just all over the place. He's not a perfect player. By no means am I saying he's a perfect player. He probably should take a few more. I mean, he's got a freaking cannon on his leg. He probably should take a few more shots from outside the box. He does turn the ball over occasionally, but he's a maniac when it comes to just on-the-ball defense and running to get into position. And he has some highlight plays, and then he also has some plays that are very, very impactful that aren't going to show up in any highlight reels or the average fan might miss, because he's just in the right spot at the right time, and he puts in that kind of work. And so between him and honestly, I don't think the backline played all that bad. I thought Ryden performed pretty well in his first start back, but Josh with another good shout. Herbert. I mean, at the end of the year, we're going to be looking back at Herbert and Talon coming in as trialists during the preseason, and then coming in and doing the job that they've done, and just praise that to no end. But for these 2 matches, the only player that really seemed to be playing with energy that was all over the place was Nanan, and so I would give him my man of the match for both matches, honestly. And I think the team might have done that. I know he was man of the match for one of them at least.
And I think that situation that went down in stoppage time with Nanan, part of me really sort of thought, you know, he's running with high intensity and just didn't realize the force that he was putting. I mean, this might be really generous take, but I don't think it was out of malice. I don't think he was like giving a big, you know, FU to the player and literally doing something that was red card deemed. It doesn't look good. Lou City's admin was not happy on Twitter. They deleted their post though, which was interesting. But I felt like it was just we were in stoppage time. We were down. He was driving to try to make things happen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Disco gets involved in that and hands him a suspension for it. Hopefully we'll see something probably the next 24 to 48 hours about that whenever Nick Murray gets around to writing his previews for the week. I'm
so confused. I watched that match and I cannot picture what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that foul on the east side, right near probably the 88th minute, something like that. Hoso gets tangled up with a Lou City player, and then ends up the Lou City player's face gets pushed down into the ground. It's
player
really hard
referred to it as his head being like a basketball.
Yeah.
Like it was just, you saw like a little bounce off the ground there. But I
Did he
genuinely
get-
I didn't see it as a malicious act.
You
I
said
don't
it was
think he
deemed red card.
That's what people were calling after the
Oh,
fact.
okay.
And
Okay.
Yeah, he
yeah,
didn't
I
get
was-
one. I know he didn't get
he did
one.
not get one. No, I think he ultimately got a yellow card.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see if Disco gets involved. Anybody stand out for the last two matches?
I think the Vegas match, every single player struggled.
Fair.
Bruce, I feel like, was at least like, again, putting everything out there. The Vegas match. So I probably, between him and Hasu, I would have picked one of them for man of the match. And I agree with Jacob for Saturday's match. Hasu, he just puts in shift after shift.
Well, I'm glad you said Hasu and not Brucey, because that was my man of the match for both matches. Brucey plays a style of ball that it's fun to watch because he's constantly looking to get open. He's constantly looking to score the ball or kick the ball, at least shoot the ball wherever he wants to put it. And he's kind of a frustrating player to watch because you never know when he's going to be onside or off. 9 times out of 10 he's off, but he's a spark plug that continues to keep firing and doesn't stop. And I think we're getting recorded by Jacob over here, or he's watching the match, one of the two.
He's probably
yeah,
at the
so-
88th minute looking to see what on earth we're talking about.
It's actually the 94th.
Oh, see, I thought it was stoppage time.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was some, I
stoppage
don't
time.
remember the exact minute, but yeah, it was somewhere there at the end.
Yeah, I found it. It's the 94th.
Yeah, so that's my man of the match just because of how he plays, and even when you're down 1-0, 2-1, whatever the case may be, he's still looking to go and score.
Okay, fair enough. All great man's men of the matches. I mean, everyone obviously tries to contribute, every chance they get out there, and it's not like the guys quit. I don't think that's ever been the case. I think it, again, you play 3 and 8. There's going to be some tiredness. You put as many minutes on legs as Brucey and Hurst have, and it's going to take a toll at some point. So, but we do have one more match to talk about, and that is the upcoming match this Sunday against Indy 11, back across the Mississippi, where our record has not been stellar this year, but we're facing an Indy 11 team that they're not doing quite as well as they would like this season. You look over at the Eastern Conference standings, they are sitting in 4th. However, they do have a -2 goal differential. They've lost 2 of 5. And I think they have some things that they need to figure out on that side. Their home and away records are somewhat similar. I think they're 4-4-2 at home. And they just, they haven't looked great from what little I've seen of them. And their two losses were a 2-0 to Tampa Bay and a 5-0 to Charleston Battery, like we mentioned earlier. I mean, looking at this match, I mean, what do we expect going back across the Mississippi? Do we think we're going to be in better form? And what do we think about their roster? And we'll start anywhere with these questions. I know I threw a lot at you guys, but I mean,
I
Christina
think-
or Jacob go or Earl, go ahead.
So I think that we do bounce back. I don't see us losing 3 matches in a row for sure. Not under Quillball for sure. But it's going to be a gritty match for sure. I think the player that we need to watch out for is Aiden Stanley. And if we can contain him from creating a big chance and finding the open player, I think we'll be fine. Am I excited about going across the Mississippi at this time of the slump that we're in? Of course not. But at the end of the day, I have faith in what United is and how they play. And I think we bounce back easily against a struggling Indy team who haven't been the Indy team that made their run early in the season. And I think it's going to be a 3-1 win for us.
Earl's just going straight in, dude. At least to warm up the pie a little bit. Like, come on.
I will add 2 things. One, they play Rhode Island tomorrow, so they will be on short rest. And 2, we will not have Nananosu. That's my
Uh-oh.
prediction. That's my prediction.
after seeing
Yeah,
the
I definitely don't think he's there.
replay. Yeah.
But Christina, what are your thoughts?
I can't say I'm super confident in our scoring abilities right now, and not having subs and tired legs, traveling to the East Coast, Mississippi, that's been challenging this season. I think we're looking to bounce back, but so is Indy. They're looking to bounce back. It's at their home. I think it's going to be a tough match, but I'm going to be a dreamer and predict 1-0. We win. I can't speak for what players to watch though. I don't feel like I'm familiar enough with Indy. I just know that it's going to be two squads coming together who are both looking to play some catch up and change, turn things around.
I don't know about you, Jacob, but I am certainly glad that this is not being played at Lucas Oil Stadium anymore. Because that is just, I hate the look. Look, I love the confines of Rio Rancho, of the high school, fine, whatever. I hate the football field. I hate the lines. I'm glad this is not at Lucas Oil Stadium anymore. But I mean, this roster, I've really kind of only looked at it in depth here a little bit. They've got Romario Williams, Jack Blake, Aiden Quinn.
Time out. Let's talk about Romario Williams real quick and what he's done the past 4 seasons in the USL.
Go for it, Earl.
Not
Let's
a damn
get some Earl
thing.
math.
Carry on.
Well, and Aiden Quinn, I know he was coming back from injury, right?
He's still not back.
Oh, he's still not back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That I know of. And Jack Blake, who I love, is a huge favorite of mine. I've been wanting him to come for a while. He also hasn't played since June for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's hurt. They acquired James Musa, formerly of Phoenix Rising. He played 1 match for them, and then I believe he's hurt. Injury news is, as you guys know, is kind of hit and miss. But none of those 3 have played any matches since. Well, Aiden hasn't played, I don't think, all season, or at least since the first couple games. Jack Blake hasn't played since mid-June. Musa played 1 match and then hasn't played since. And so they're definitely not the healthiest team.
No, they've certainly been ravaged this year, and it's not good.
That being said, though, they still have the likes of Cam Lindley.
Guinzotti.
Yeah. Sebastian Guinzotti, Romario Williams, Augie Williams, Douglas Martinez, formerly of RSL, and bounced around. He had a great year with RSL in 2019, in the year that we came into the league. And so the talent is still there. Their back line, to me, is full of a bunch of kind of roamers, transplants, whatever you want to call them, that have kind of bounced around. And then a really, really young guy that's been playing there the last 2 or 3 matches. And so their back line to me isn't jump off the page. And so I think that could be, Charleston's really, really good, obviously, but they put up 5 matches, not only in a match, but in a half. They were all in the second half. And so that back line is vulnerable for sure. So that gives me some hope that our offense can find some spark here. And really our offense is the best when we're wreaking havoc with the press and just playing with that energy. And we haven't had that. And that's more why I think our offense has struggled than necessarily the X's and O's and players. I think it's just been that intensity hasn't been there. That intensity leads to a lot of good things for us on the offensive side of the ball. And so the question for me really is that intensity there or is it not? Mm-hmm. And go ahead, Seth.
I think to answer the question, I think we do see some of that back. Obviously we're missing some of that, particularly against Las Vegas. We did not do well in the midfield. We were also missing Zico Bailey. Mm-hmm. We did better in the midfield on Saturday as well. So, and I think that with this Indy roster and where they're at with injuries and the players they have available, I think Zico can have a really good night through that midfield on Sunday afternoon, by the way. Which I think is going to be interesting. If we can do better, control the midfield, get those turnovers. We really haven't committed to the press as much as I thought we would. Now, obviously, Brucey's going to go 100 miles an hour no matter what. And he's going to be up there. He's going to be trying to disrupt things. But I agree. I think if we can disrupt a little bit more in their defensive half, and then control from, say, the center circle, like our side of the center circle from there forward. If we can make those plays and stop them there and then get forward and look for those outlet passes, we're going to be able to pick them apart at the back. I mean, the only guy on their back line that really kind of worries me is Dispay. A name everyone should be familiar with. Hopefully, he did spend some time in the Western Conference. We've seen him a number of times, but I think we have the ability to break these guys down. And I don't think that they sit back at home. I don't think they sit and drop to that 5 at the back like we saw from our opponents the past couple matches, to where it's incredibly hard to break down. So we're going to have opportunities. Do I think we get 5-0? No, I don't think it's that. I would love to see it. I would love to see a match just pop where we hit that. But I think this is a comfortable 2-0 win on the road.
Wow. Am I going to be the Debbie Downer? I'm never the Debbie Downer. I'm not okay with this, guys. So everything that we've seen so far this season, the slump that we're in, traveling back east, Indy being a good team, even with their injuries, that all points to me to be bad signs for New Mexico United. We talked about their injuries. One guy that I'm going to be watching and not looking forward to facing at all. Harry, if you're still in the chat, you will remember this name. Cam Lindley played for SAFC, played for Colorado Springs. We've seen him a lot. He reminds me of Jack Gurr, not so much in the position and role that they play, but just his motor. He's kind of just like, I don't know if you guys are basketball fans, but he's kind of just like the token white guy on the team that just has a motor that doesn't stop and just kind of is a pest and gets in. He's kind of Bruce-esque. Now that I think about it. And so, and he can create, he can score occasionally, but he's somebody that I think when you get Douglas Martinez and Augie or Romario Williams up top, and then him behind them, can create issues, and that worries me. That being said, our defense, I think, has still been solid, even giving up a couple goals against Las Vegas Lights. But doing what we did to Lou City, I think our defense is going to be solid. It's going to be tight. I will predict a 2-1 win reluctantly. And actually, if I'm being honest with myself, I'm leaning probably more towards 1-1, but I'm not going to do that because I do think with everything that I said, with the going east, playing in a slump, I think our backs are against the wall. I think Quill's going to rip into him this week. We get an extra day off, so I think Tuesday they might go pretty hard in training, and he might kind of be like, "Hey, what are we doing here?" Maybe we'll see Swartz back, which would be nice. Just another depth piece. I probably would expect a lineup shakeup, seeing as we've played basically the same lineup for the last 3 or 4 matches, and it hasn't quite clicked. So I would expect either Hurst or Bruce to start, not both of them. Maybe Akale and Harris start with some speed, assuming they're match fit for that much, because that, to me, our deadliest lineup is still like over the span of a full 90 minutes is Hurst starting with Akale and Harris, and then you bring on Bruce late, and you bring on a Swartz or a Flanagan who has some speed as well on a wing, and let them go to work and be pests and use that speed and grittiness to kind of wear teams down in the last 30, 40 minutes. I think we go back to that. I wouldn't be surprised if we go back to that. And so in my head, I think we do those things. I think our back's against the wall, so we actually see some of that fire we see some of that intensity like we had against Lou City to start. And Indy is not Lou City, so we will hopefully, if we come out like that, we'll have a little more luck, a little more reward for that in the first half. Maybe have a lead going into halftime and be able to hold on and build on it. And so I'll say 2-1. I think it's still going to be a tough test because Indy, as we mentioned, does have talent. They're also just kind of in a slump right now. So we'll see if one of us can break a slump. There's a little bit longer than ours. We won. It'll be 2 weeks between matches from our last win to when we play Indy. For Indy, it'll be like 2 months. So because they have won in the Open Cup, but they have not won since like June 22nd or even June 15th, I think, actually. And that was against San Antonio. So does it really even count?
You better be careful. You only have one fan. That's Harry, and you're talking shit about his team. So
Harry talks shit about his team.
If Hasu does get suspended, who do you guys think would fill his shoes?
unfortunately, Seymour.
No, I think you see what we saw when Nanan was suspended for like the first match and stuff. I think you see Zico and Marco playing back there with Marco. Zico's kind of being Nanan-esque, and then Marco's the one that drops back and then pushes forward through the middle, which worked really well for us a few times earlier in the season. So I'm upset if we don't have Nanan, obviously, and it kind of factors into my thought process. But maybe if Nanan's not out there, people will be like, oh, well, he's not going to be there to clean up my messes, so I can't make these messes. I got to be more careful and be a little bit better. And so I think that's the most likely outcome of what we see.
Probably. I can't think of anyone else to put in there. I mean, Marco's done a better job, being that deep lying playmaker, dropping back and then, taking possession and pushing the ball forward or looking for those outlets, because Sergio just hasn't done that this year. And so, yeah, I think Marco and Zico, put Zico, like you said, put that defensive mid, and then that gives him the freedom to either drop back into a 5 or push forward. So,
can I do a small victory lap here? For 2 seasons, I was not a fan of Amando Moreno or Sergio Rivas, and this season, I mean, it's a big season for me. Let's be real, guys. I mean, they've both struggled. I hate that Sergio's struggling for us. I obviously hope that he wouldn't. But I don't like to crap on people, but they've been my Juan Pablo Guzman and Sam Hamilton's.
Mm-hmm.
But they have moments of brilliance on offense that have brought people back in, even though I've seen straight through the facade. I'm glad El Paso didn't see through the facade, though. That makes me happy. But yeah, he needs to figure it out. Sergio does, for sure, because we do need another playmaker in the midfield there. And if we're not going to sign somebody, then he needs to pull his head out of his ass. And then so there are a couple names that I want to ask you guys about real quick before we get out of here. Marco and Nicky and Jacobo are all 3 names that play in that midfield that had real moments, real moments earlier in this season. And we were praising for about the first half of the season, if not more. They've fallen off in the minutes that they've gotten lately. They have fallen off. Have they fallen off because they weren't getting minutes, or am I missing something? Because I don't feel like they were playing bad and warranted getting benched, for lack of a better word. So, what's the issue there? What do you think, Earl? I know you have some thoughts on one of those names. He wasn't bad at the beginning of the season. He was really good at the beginning of the season. Or do you think he's just been bad all season? We're talking about Jacobo Reyes.
I know.
I know you know. I'm not talking to you about it.
I don't know. I don't like Jacobo's play this season. Last season, I thought he came in really, really good. Came in when we really needed him and played the spark that we needed for him to come in.
The first part of this season was so much better than last season.
Yeah, it was like who is this guy? Where did he come from?
He came in the beginning of this season like on fire. He's not on fire now. I will give you that, Earl. But it's like two different players to me. And
Well,
I
I
wonder if
think,
it has to do with him pushing out to the wing. Because
and that's
I
what
like him
I
better.
was just about to say that. I think, and I touched on it earlier, where Quill is trying to cook up a lot of things in the pot and try to throw teams off. To no player can be scouted and be targeted. So I think that's what he's trying, and it's playing a detriment to the team. I mean, Hokobo's a striker by calling. A left wing, he's a striker and a midfielder by calling. He's not a left winger or right winger, whatever freaking hell position he played this past two games.
He's been playing on the left.
Left, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we've seen our slump is the past two matches. Our deep slump was the past two matches where we saw Hokobo playing on that left wing and just getting picked apart every time that we tried anything with him on that side. I think Hokobo is the liability on that left wing. Him in the midfield as a sub, I'm all for it. Him coming on as a striker as a sub, I'm all for it. I'm not 100% against Hokobo. I'm against Hokobo playing out of position in a position he is not familiar with. If you bring Hokobo in as like a central defending mid, okay, cool. It's still in the realm of where he's at already as attacking mid, center mid. He could fall back into a defending mid pretty easily. But when you're putting him from a mid and throwing him out to the wing, which is a totally different monster and beast in itself. I mean, you look at who our wings are right now. We have Akale and we have Harris. Both are fantastic at what they do. At no point, and you guys can fight me on this one, I'm willing to go toe-to-toe and take some beatings off of it. At no point should Hokobo Reyes be starting at left field, at left wing over Harris.
I was going to throw Harris's name into the hat, though, with those other three. I feel like ever since he left, he got called up to play with the Philippines when he came back. He just has been kind of off.
He's also dealt with a couple little knocks. I mean, he probably should have come out the first time he went down against Birmingham, I want to say. And then he went down a second time against Birmingham, and then they finally did take him out. And then he came on as a sub. I don't remember the exact timeline, but he came on as a sub and then got subbed out in that same match at one point. I don't remember what match that was. So at least that's why I didn't throw him in there, is because yes, the form hasn't been as good as it was before, but I can at least I can look at that and be like, okay, great, call up, injury, comeback injury, not 100%, something like that. I can at least see a reason there. The other three, I'm not sure. So Earl took on Hokobo. I think the positional thing with Hokobo is pretty spot on. Seth, what do you think about Nikki?
I'm really amazed he's not getting more time. I genuinely is. I genuinely am. And I think his play has suffered a little bit because he's not getting as much time. But I think when you have Marco and Zico playing as well as they have been, it's that thing where
has Marco really played that well, though? I mean, he's given up turnovers that led to goals in 2 of the 3 matches that we've played.
Okay, so you're talking about 2 matches out of 19.
So Marco was the other name that I threw out there because I don't think he's looked nearly as dynamic.
Not as last year, no, but I think his role has changed.
I think he's also frustrated, and it's showing.
Yeah.
Even when he got subbed off on, I think, Saturday, I could see the coach like walking and talking with him. Like he was visibly frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something on there. Like his role has changed a bit. He's not necessarily, a guy who's this year being tasked for set pieces or to, find shots. He's being tasked more to create than do for himself. And so I think that's frustrating him a bit. I think despite the issues we've seen in the past couple of matches, I think as a whole, the season, Marco has played pretty well given what he's being asked to do now.
Well, so I think there's a clear, he was playing well, was playing really well, was doing fantastic, was man of the match worthy for like the first 10 to 12 matches. In the last 6 or 7, really, he just hasn't been the same. And I can't point to a stylistic reason like with Hakovo. I can't point to an injury with like Dayon. And I really can't point to like a lack of playing time like with Nikki. And so he's another one. We talked about Hurst and Bruce and the wear and tear that we've had on their legs. Marco's had some time off, but he covers so much ground on the pitch every night and is asked to do a lot of different things. I wonder if mentally and physically, if he's not getting taxed, and that's why we've seen the dip. And maybe he just needs to be like out of the 18 on Sunday completely. And he needs to know that like yesterday so that he can rest and relax and recuperate and get right for the home stretch, because we're not the same team when he's not playing up to his standard and his capabilities. And so if that's the case, then we need to do whatever we need to do to get him back up there. And if that's a match off where he can have a week off completely, maybe even not even train that week, whatever you got to do, I think that's something that Quill should be considering. I don't know if he is, especially with the lead shrinking and the matches in hand shrinking. It might put a little more pressure on us to be like, no, you got to play. But those 3 names were just 3 names that I think had started off really well and have kind of waned. And I hadn't put a whole lot of thought into the reasons why, but I think we did a good job tonight of talking them out and figuring out what was going on with each of them. And so those were the 3 names I wanted to bring up. If you guys have any more thoughts on those 3 names, feel free to go ahead. But other than that, I'm done with those 3 names. I thought we covered it really good. Thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's I think that's just about it. I mean, we're past where we normally want to go, but a lot of great discussion tonight, a lot of things to talk about, a lot of really good topics.
We also started about 15 minutes late because we had baby talk for a good half hour.
So we did. But yeah, I mean, a great show, guys. I mean, if anyone else has any final thoughts before Jacob gets us out of here. No. All right, Jacob, it is yours. Get us out.
Earl looks like a deer in the headlights for a minute there.
Sorry, my internet like glitched out, so I'm like trying to hear what he actually said and whatnot.
Do you have any final thoughts, Earl?
Real quick, if all goes well, I will be here next weekend or next Tuesday night. And if all goes well, there might be a little crying baby in my arm because I'm pretty sure I'm taking the night shift.
Gotcha. The 9th, correct?
Yeah.
Is that C-section or is it
C-section?
C-section?
Yeah, it's a C-section unless she decides that she's going to show up a little bit earlier.
Gotcha.
And if that's the case, then we'll play it by that time.
One more. We started off the show with dad suggestions. I'm going to end it with one after finding that out. Our first was a C-section the night before we went out. We had dinner. We had our last little final hurrah before we were slaves to this little minion.
Just say it. Just say it.
It was just a minion. That's all I could think of. And so go enjoy that last night out if you can. Find a babysitter. Enjoy the night with just the 2 of you. If
baby
possible.
moon.
Yeah, and do a little baby moon because once the 9th comes, man, your life's going to be different for sure for quite a while. So that was my last little bit of advice.
All right. Well, if that's it, Jacob.
Just
Sweet.
remember, this show was sponsored by Only Dads.
Every freaking time. That's not what I was expecting. I was expecting another Diaper Stash reference, but I appreciate you for not doing that.
Well, that too. If you go to pampers.com/diaper stash, type in my name, you can find it right here. And for those of you listening, that's Earl, EARL.
Not
URL because that's been spelled before. You can find a Diaper Stash for Pampers, and it's greatly appreciated.
Anyways, Earl, congrats. I'll be looking at my phone on 9th, waiting for some pictures. Christina, thanks for hopping on. I know you were late, but I thought you added a ton to the show tonight. Thought everybody was on their A game. The chat was on their A game. Sometimes the reason we go an hour and a half is because it's just going really well. And so I just want to thank everybody over in the chat. Thank the three of you. Thank Marlena for letting Earl hop on for one last hurrah before the baby comes.
She's on the phone.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so, yeah, hopefully we come back next Tuesday talking about 3 points in Indy. Again, that match is Sunday at 3:00, not the normal Saturday date. And so if you go on Saturday to be like, hey, where are we? Because I can almost guarantee you there will be somebody in United Nation on Facebook that's like, hey, I don't see us on the thing today. Where how do I watch the match? And then somebody ought to be like, it's tomorrow. And then that guy will get shit on for a little while. So
speaking of the Sunday match, there will be no radio coverage from 101.7. The club is being preempted by Dallas Cowboys preseason football.
Boo.
It's all about it. Welcome.
Earl, you ready to lose the
Can't
East
wait.
this year?
I can't wait. We don't have time. We don't have time. We will talk about that later. Thank you guys again. We will be back next Tuesday.
Don't forget to
every
acknowledge
week.
your tribal chief.
Yeah. Go check out Earl's pod. Earl, name of it.
It is Before the Bell podcast. You can find us
There
on
you go.
Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, a lot of places. Just go watch it. It's free.
So yeah. So for those of you that usually tune in for wrestling talk, he now has his own place to talk about that. And so go check that out if that's your thing. As we know, it's not my thing, but if it is your thing, go check it out. And next Tuesday, 8:00, as always. I'm not sure which 3 or 4 or 2 of us will be here, but
Or 5.
or 5
Or
or
5.
6 with Maggie because she likes to join us. But some combination of us will be here next Tuesday at 8:00, and we hope to join you then. And until then, guys, love y'all. Somos Linos.